What's going on, everybody, and welcome to an Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home here at FakePigskin.com. It's Thursday. That means it's time to look ahead to those Week 3 lines, to talk all of the matchups for Sunday, the stuff Brian and I are keeping an eye on as we march towards Sunday. As your friendly reminder, if you are enjoying what we're doing here, please mash that thumbs up. Please subscribe. It really does do a lot for us, helps get our podcast out to others, and lets us keep producing these content. As well as every Sunday morning, we will be live on YouTube answering your questions from 11:30 to about 12:30, depending on how active the chat's being. We had a nice group of people asking questions last week. It was great to see. So bring your start sit questions, bring your betting questions, bring your preemptive strike questions, and we can help get you set for a Week 3 and beyond. But Brian, let's do what we came to do. And let's start our Week 3 betting preview. Let me just off the top say this. This is going to be a bloodbath for most people. I have the weirdest feeling. We had Week 1 was all favorites, all overs. Week 2 was a lot of the same, including teaser legs, whether you're going one way or the other, we're pretty much cashing.
Yeah.
That's usually a sign for bad things are to come.
Yes.
People tend to spend the 2 weeks, make a lot of money, do really well, and then Vegas is Vegas for a reason. There's a lot of close lines, a lot of interesting numbers, a lot of things that could make somebody who doesn't spend a half second thinking about it go, oh, why would I not bet that? Here you go. Here's all my money. And then they're holding that ticket come Sunday afternoon and they're ripping it in half and throwing it in the trash. So that's where my head is at as we head into Week 3. As always, we have 4 games we want to run through, plus we'll hit our best of the rest. And we'll start with one of those head scratchers. And that is the Atlanta Falcons versus the Chicago Bears. The Falcons are dead, right, Brian? Like they're 0-2. They're without Julio Jones. Nothing is going right. They scored a bunch last week, and it still wasn't enough to beat Dallas. The sky is falling, and we should just bet the Bears, right?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, that's kind of I'm definitely leaning Chicago with the points in this game because if you look at last week's game in particular for the Atlanta Falcons, they were spotted a 20-point lead based solely on the fact that Dallas had the cases of the fumbleitis and they were handing Atlanta short fields early. And throughout the second half of the game, we saw it again where Dan Quinn and his coaching staff, they just seem to be completely overmatched when it comes to any sort of scheme changes or any adjustments that they make throughout the game. And if whatever they came into the game trying to do isn't working, it's just not going to work for the day. And you saw that over the second half of the game with Dallas just was going up and down the field. Atlanta, amazingly enough, didn't jump on an onside kick that was just rolling right in front of a guy. Like he just watched it. He was in amazement by the movement of the ball.
Football. What do I do with that?
He must have been mesmerized by the way the ball was spinning. But I look at this game as the fact that Atlanta, they don't really perform well in games that are close. And the Chicago Bears, they have been, both of their games this season have been kind of tightly contested matchups, both Week 1 against Detroit, where they had to make a comeback. We saw Mitchell Trubisky turned it on. And then last week against, another crap team, we saw them let them hang in there. But, Chicago, I think their defense is good enough to be able to stymie Atlanta somewhat. And if Julio Jones misses, I think this game is close throughout the duration of the day. And I think Chicago is the one who will actually wind up on top. And we see Atlanta go to 0-3.
Atlanta is going to win this game, and they are going to crush Chicago. We were talking about a Chicago Bears team that had DeAndre Swift not dropped the ball in the end zone, would have lost Week 1. Mitchell Trubisky is the quarterback still, in case you were wondering. I know he did orchestrate a nice comeback against the Lions, but the Lions are not good either. And I watched a lot of that Giants game because, I was an idiot and bet on the Giants and still somehow covered. I'm not really sure how it happened, but I'm very happy it did. The Bears aren't good. This is one of those smoke and mirrors games, and they're 2-0. They're coming in with a perception that they're good or they're not terrible. They're very bad, and they have okay pieces. Like obviously, love Allen Robinson. We'll see what David Montgomery does. He's a little banged up. Obviously, the Giants are lost Saquon early in that game and still managed to somehow cover. I think the Falcons get some of their frustration. The Falcons played Dallas and Seattle, who could arguably be the two best offenses in the NFC. So I expect Mitchell Trubisky to be. It's like when you play a game on like the hardest level for a little while and you're just not doing quite as well as you hoped. So you like bring it back one notch, and then like on Madden, like you play an all pro and it's just like it's really frustrating. So you go to pro mode and you win by like 37. Like I feel like that's going to happen this week, and the Falcons cruise. And even if Julio doesn't play, they still have Russell Gage to step in and take over. So they're good.
Yeah, I fool me once, fool me twice. The third time, it's on me. So
Yeah.
I just feel like this Atlanta team. I mean, they're all offense. I have zero trust, like I said, in that coaching staff. That if this game were to be close, for them to make the correct decisions and maybe run the ball if the team doesn't have any more timeouts. I fully expect them to run some sort of play action rollout pass with one of the least mobile quarterbacks in the NFL, only they see an incompletion. In a game like this where I think both teams are kind of fool's gold in the way that they've played so far, I'm going to take the field goal and a half. Now, if this does creep under 2.5, I think it'll be a little more interesting with Atlanta at home. Even though I do think Chicago wins, I think it would be good to like hedge that and take Atlanta as a 2.5 point favorite. But as it stands now, I'm going to take the 3.5 with Chicago.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe I'm maybe an idiot. Just keep like I'm a glutton for punishment because the Eagles and the Falcons are both those teams that like everything sets up for them to play well, like last week, and they just maybe they're not good. Let's keep it rolling. Let's talk about the next game on our docket, and that's the Buffalo Bills as a 2.5 point favorite at home versus the LA Rams. I know the Rams have looked good. Obviously, that the game against the Eagles, they ended up blowing them out. But I'm wondering this for both the Rams and the Niners in terms of typically in non-COVID times, teams can stay out east and practice east and then go to the game and stay. They'll do that for a few weeks. Where this season, those teams have to go back to California and then back to New York or back to the East Coast. And granted, it's a little, obviously they have private jets and they have really nice amenities and it's not as brutal, but it's still a lot. And like, especially in this scenario, like I'm hammering the Buffalo Bills. They may be my best bet of the week.
Yeah. This is one of those games that when I was looking at the lines late Sunday night, it was one of the more interesting spreads. And you could tell that it definitely lended to the tradition of, home field advantage is an automatic almost field goal difference in games, and that's how they set the line. And I think that's probably the reason that this is 2.5. I think this is closer to a pick 'em. It'll be one of those games where it'll probably surprisingly hit the under because I think both of them are going to try to play a little bit more smash mouth with Jalen Ramsey out there. He's Jalen Ramsey. He's one of the best corners in the NFL. John Brown is a little banged up. Cole Beasley is a little banged up. Dawson Knox is in the concussion protocol for Buffalo. Zach Moss has a toe injury. This is one of the most difficult games of the week for me to bet. I am on the same page with you though, as far as liking Buffalo, just for the mere fact that their defense is physical in the way that they're going to disrupt what the Rams like to do on offense, which is a lot of rubs and, they like to play a little bit finesse on the outside. And I think that Buffalo's physicality will definitely cause problems for the Rams. And I think what we expected out of Philly last week is what we actually see from Buffalo this week.
Yeah, and the Rams, like I gotta give them all the credit. Like that offensive line is much improved.
Yep.
They're able to run the ball, whether it's Akers or Brown or Darrell Henderson, like whoever they put back there. It's less about the player and more about the scheme that's opening up these nice gaps for people to run through. And obviously, Woods and Kupp and Higbee with 3 touchdowns, and Jared Goff looks good. It's nice to see some of your preseason predictions to come to fruition, even if you're not smart enough to actually follow your own advice. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, I think we're simpatico here with the Bills. Josh Allen is a vastly improved quarterback. Now I will want to see, the first couple weeks against the Jets and then the Dolphins, especially without Byron Murphy, it's a lot easier to look good than against this improving Rams defense and then going forward. But there's a lot to like about the Bills. Even with some injuries, they still have a lot of pieces on the offensive side of the ball that excite me. And inside a field goal, I'm very happy to line up and take the Bills, and we'll see how that goes. Let's talk about there's honestly 3 games this weekend that are, in terms of just me wanting to watch, are like, these are like potential AFC NFC championship type games, things that will decide home field advantage come, like the 1 seed, 2 seed matchups. And we'll start with Seattle Seahawks, who are hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Seattle is great. I don't like the Seahawks, but Seattle is great, and they finally realized that Russell Wilson is, arguably the best quarterback currently in the NFL, and they decided that instead of picking the ball out of his hands and letting Chris Carson or Carlos Hyde run into the pile, that they would let their superstar quarterback throw the ball all over the yard. And even if Lockett and DK are locked up, they have other options to go to. Your Cowboys, almost came back against the Rams, made it a full comeback against the Falcons. I just worry if you guys get down here, like you did against the Falcons last week, that it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to come back.
Yeah, I'm expecting a completely different game this week out of the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, last week was kind of an anomaly with the amount of fumbles that they were getting. I mean, there was 3 in the first half that were just completely out of the ordinary for them.
Yeah.
I think this game is just going to be another shootout, just like we saw against Atlanta and just like we saw Seattle do with New England, as both teams are pretty bad against the pass. The Cowboys, maybe without their top 3 cornerbacks this week, having seen already Anthony Brown and Awuzie out, and now rookie Trayvon Diggs is battling an injury. He practiced today, but they still don't know. DeMarcus Lawrence may be out for Dallas, which means that, and Randy Gregory is also working on the side. So if they're not getting any sort of pass rush against Russell Wilson, the NFL's most efficient passer is just going to become even that much better against them. And then on the other side of the ball, the Cowboys, they have 3 legit, wide receiver 1/2s right now going. Even though Michael Gallup hasn't produced, he's still seeing the air yards. He's still seeing the downfield targets. He's a questionable 50-50 pass interference call away from having a 100-yard day. This is going to be one of those 60, 65-point games. And for it to be a 5-point line, I think I'm leaning towards taking Dallas in this game because of Zeke. Like, I think he's kind of the X factor, which will help keep this game close there. As, Seattle faced New England, who had Cam Newton, and we saw what he was able to do. And they played completely separate positions, but the Cowboys are still one of the most efficient running teams in the NFL with Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott back there. And then they also have this 3-headed monster out there catching passes. I'm going the over. I'd probably avoid the line in this one. I like both team total overs. I like the total over. I like the first half over. I like as many points as possible. Just give them to me. I may play a DFS lineup with only Seahawks and Cowboys if that's possible. I'm going all in on this game for a scoring
Yeah, I'm looking for team totals right now. The over/under at 56 is a little terrifying. But as someone who was on the under of New Orleans and the Raiders on Monday night, uh, that did not end well for me. So I don't hate that. I might go team total on both, and then just hopefully if a game goes over, then you hit both of them. But at least you should get one. I like Seattle in this spot. I think they can win this game by a touchdown. Now, like you said, it's pretty scary to go against that offense on the road because even if the Seattle say up 10, I could see Dak easily driving down, even if it's a late game situation, throwing the touchdown and then trying to get the onside kick and kick a field goal.
Also of note is the fact that Bruce Irvin is out for the rest of the season for
Mhm.
Seattle, which is takes away another aspect of their pass rush, which already wasn't that great. So
Yeah.
Dak may
And
have a lot of pressure, even minus Tyrone Smith out at left tackle.
yep, and the emergence of Dalton Schultz is another option for Dallas, and we still think Michael Gallup has a chance to do some big things this season. So maybe this is a prime spot for his full breakout for this season. But yeah, I think for me this is probably a more watch and see. But if I had to play anything, I would play team totals and I would look over just like kind of your mentality. I think there could be a lot of points scored. Let's go to another mentality game and gauge some interest. The New Orleans Saints are coming home, licking their wounds after losing to the Las Vegas Raiders in their stadium opener. And in come the Green Bay Packers, who look like juggernauts who won't be beaten. Aaron Rodgers is throwing the ball all over the yard, potentially without Devontae Adams this week, but Aaron Jones looked great last week. So all the logic in the world says take the Packers here, right? Plus a field goal.
I'm riding the Saints still in this game. I know the Packers have looked amazing, but minus Devontae Adams against the Saints team who is already really good against the run, just to me. Oh, and they're also getting Marcus Davenport back on the defensive line, which will be a huge addition to them on the outside, trying to pass rush against Aaron Rodgers. Minus Devontae Adams, I mean, Martez Valdez-Scantling has played really well, but he's no Adams. And I mean, we've seen Tanyan come out and be a good target for A-Rod, but he's not Darren Waller. The weapons outside of Aaron Jones, and I like Jamal Williams this week to see an increase in playing time, especially if Adams does not play. But I think this game goes the under. I think it's a surprisingly close to the vest type of game, and I think that New Orleans is able to sneak it out with the potential of kicking a couple more field goals than Green Bay, with them using both Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara, a lot.
Yeah. Oh, well, I can let you know that I've already bet the Saints -3. They're absolutely the correct side in this game. Potentially another potential best bet for me. I love them coming home, licking their wounds. Everyone kind of, Drew Brees has a noodle arm, and that team's not going to be good, and they don't have Michael Thomas, and things are going bad, and they're gonna make a statement in this game, and I think it's a great spot for the Saints. So if you wanna ride that Saints -3, I'm 100% in agreement. Let's talk our best of the rest. We could talk in terms of watchability. Monday night, Baltimore Ravens hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. Like in terms of entertainment, like this could be the AFC Championship. This could be the two best teams in the AFC. Not sure I'm gonna jump in with any bets on this game. We'll see how the weekend goes, but at this point, the Ravens -3.5. Like, is there anything you like in this game?
It's probably an avoid for me, and I'll probably, like you said, just sit back and watch this Monday night game, just because anytime you give a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes 3 points, 3 or more points, it's almost assumed that you're going to be on the correct side of getting those points. But he's also playing a Ravens team who has, if not the best, one of the top pass defenses in the NFL. They're also able to limit what the opposing teams do on the ground. They have Calais Campbell back there who will be able to limit the sight lines of Patrick Mahomes. I mean, 6'8", that dude is a freaking monster. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he definitely we came back down to earth with the expectations of him last week
Yeah,
against the Chargers.
after the Hall of Fame induction after week one,
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
people realize maybe let the rookie have a few games before we
Yep.
elect him into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and I think that was something that was really glaring about this Chiefs offense is the lack of consistency in the running game is definitely going to affect Patrick Mahomes' ability to get the ball down the field, especially against teams who are able to create pressure with 4 or 5 guys without having the blitz. Baltimore is going to be able to bring the heat with their D line and maybe one extra guy. They may use Patrick Queen out there to kind of spy on Clyde Edwards-Helaire when he's in the game, which I like that matchup for the Ravens. The Chiefs were, the Chargers were grating cheese back there against the Chiefs defensive line. They were pounding them in the trenches there. And what is Baltimore going to do? Only look to the 3-headed monster that they have with Dobbins, Ingram, and Gus Edwards, and they're just going to plow the road against them. So this is another game that I may think may be a sneaky under, even though the total is creeping up, upwards of 52, 53 right now. I'm actually leaning the under in this game just for the mere fact that I think Baltimore keeps it on the ground more than we've seen throughout weeks 1 and 2.
So my concern is that based on the Chiefs looking flat and just not great last week, and granted, the Chargers did a lot to help him make that kind of appearance happen. I feel like there could be some value on Kansas City. I'm getting Patrick Mahomes as an underdog. I'm getting plus money on the money line. Like, I feel like the Ravens either cover or lose outright. So if you like the Chiefs, I would just take them. That being said, I'm probably not betting this game either way, but I feel like there could be a 35-23 romping, and I'm just like, why didn't I bet the Chiefs as a favorite? They're so good. Like, because if this game was week 2 and not week 3, and the Chiefs were coming off of their week 1 victory, I don't think it's 3.5. I think maybe 2.5, if that.
Yeah.
And 1 or 1.5 point may not seem very much, but when you're crossing key numbers like 0 and like 3 and like 7, that's significant move. Moving from 4 to 5, 5.5 isn't that big of a deal, but when you're going from inside 3 to outside 3, so like I said, we'll see when it comes around, but I'm not getting in on this game, but I wouldn't blame anyone who took the Chiefs money line here. Okay, best of the rest outside of that game. Arizona is one that really intrigues me. I feel like this might be an egg on the face game where, like I said, there's going to be some results that are going to be a little shocking. And I wonder if the Cardinals are one of those teams that maybe hit a little speed bump in week 3 on their way to, I think they're a very good team. I think they're a playoff caliber team. Detroit has a lot of stuff to work on. Maybe we get Kenny Golladay back for this spot, but in terms of like a weird result, we saw these two teams play last year to a tie. We'll see what happens this year, but where's your head at for this game?
I was surprised, to say the least, that Arizona started the week as like a 6.5 to 7 point favorite, depending on what book you looked at. I'm just amazed that we're now valuing the Cardinals as a 7 point favorite over anybody after last year, where you would have never thought that they would be deemed a touchdown better than any team in the NFL, just with their inefficiencies on offense, their inability to execute in the red zone. And the addition of DeAndre Hopkins has completely changed the way that we look at this offense. And it's apparent that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with on the offensive side of the ball, with Kyler Murray taking off and running a lot more. I think Detroit's going to have a difficult time containing him. To me, I've seen him compared to what we saw out of Lamar Jackson last year, and I think that's a good comparable, except for the fact that Kenyon Drake has yet to show that it'd be worth his first to early second round value in fantasy drafts. And I think that may be the issue that they've run into when they start to get later in the season and they start playing these better teams.
Yeah, and I think Kenyon Drake could have a breakout here. I'm going to be looking at his player props and looking for value. I think this could be the spot because Detroit has a tremendous issue stopping opposing rushers. And this could be his kind of breakout. Oh yeah, that's why we were high on him coming into the season game. The Raiders are on the road this week, heading to New England to take on Cam Newton and the Patriots. Interesting game. I think both of these teams kind of had mixed emotions coming into the year. So far, they both have shown things that make you think there's potential. And yet, the Patriots are 5.5 point favorites, depending on where you look at it. Where's your head at for this one?
This game to me it's not going to be my bet of the week, but it's close. It was a close second. Give me the Patriots -5, -6, -7. I think New England is just going to completely steamroll. I almost called them Oakland. Steamroll the Raiders here. If we know anything about Bill Belichick,
steamroll him back to Oakland.
Yeah, he is a master at scheming his defense against the opposing team's like number one options on offense. And I guarantee you, we will see times during the day where Stephon Gilmore is guarding Darren Waller. We will see them completely stymie the run game with run blitzes and all that kind of stuff to make this game be put on Derek Carr's shoulders. And the Raiders will have no choice but to allow Cam Newton to just completely blow over them the entire game by committing multiple defenders in the box, thus leaving Julian Edelman and N'Keal Harry and Damiere Byrd out there on one-on-one situations against their horrible corners. And I just don't see this as being a good matchup for the Raiders. And I think the public or the bettors are going to be riding high off of their win against the depleted New Orleans team on Monday night. And you're going to get a tremendous value with the Patriots laying whatever you're laying on them.
Yeah. I like the Patriots a lot here too. I think they could make a statement here. And Cam's look great. Go figure. Cam Newton, whenever he has talent and is healthy, he tends to play well. The one line that kind of has me thinking a little bit is the Steelers are getting 4 points Steelers -4 at home versus Houston. Had we made this game before the season started, I think it's definitely inside 3. It might be a pick 'em. Houston has looked awful. Are they just bad? Or is this a get right spot? Because I have concerns about the offensive line in Houston, and the Steelers' defense on all 3 levels is incredible.
Yep.
The Steelers' offense has looked great, passing the ball all over. They've had a big game from Benny Snell, a big game from James Conner. Or should we just lay it with the Steelers and get ready for another Houston romp? And Houston might, there's a couple teams that I'm kind of keeping an eye on, Houston being one of them, Minnesota being one of them, that they just might be not good this year. It might be a 4-12, 5-11 type situation. But in terms of this game, where's your head at with Houston and the Steelers?
This is another game where I'm laying the points with Pittsburgh. Entering the season, we talked numerous times about how Pittsburgh was being undervalued as probably the best defense in the NFL, getting Ben Roethlisberger back. He's utilizing all of his pieces on the outside, which we saw Chase Claypool have a huge reception last week. Deontay Johnson is showing out this year. Juju, he's been playing well. I know he's missed practice the last 2 days, so we'll see what his availability is like, but it's not like Houston's stopping Joe Schmo out there on the outside anyways. James Conner looked great last week after his injury he sustained in week 1. And like you said, Benny Snell filled in admirably for him. I just think this Steelers team is, to me, I feel they're like a 2B to either Baltimore or Kansas City for the favorites to come out of the AFC, just as far as them being like one of the most well-rounded teams in the AFC right now. And Houston is just getting they're just bad. Their offensive line is horrible. They're allowing like a pressure, people in Deshaun Watson's face at the second highest rate in the NFL again, even with the additional Laramie Tunsil out there. So what a wasted trade that was. David Johnson, for as many snaps as he's seen, he's not really being that effective. Like they're not able to utilize his talents right now. The loss of DeAndre Hopkins, even with all those other guys on the outside, is a huge loss for them, because as good as Brandon Cooks has been, they don't have that one guy that can go up in one-on-one situations and just man up against a corner. Will Fuller again is already hurt. He's already banged up last week. Yeah, shocker. We've tried to warn you. Houston is a mess. I think Pittsburgh, this is another double-digit game throughout the day for Houston, and Pittsburgh likely covers the 4.
The last one I want to talk about, then we'll hit you guys with our best bets. The Niners are only 3.5-point favorites on the road. I know they're going home and flying back out. I know they don't have Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe not George Kittle, but this game opened up as the Niners favored by almost a touchdown. I know they're banged up. I know they're traveling. I know they're going back to the field where they had a bunch of injuries. But I've also seen the Giants play a lot, and they're not good.
They suck.
They're without Saquon Barkley. They're going to be running out Devonta Freeman and Dion Lewis and Wayne Gallman, and I feel like the Niners could win by a lot, and people are going to be like, why did we pound the Giants? They're so bad.
Excuse me. Well, I feel this is like the same situation we saw last week with San Francisco facing the Jets. Yeah. You saw numerous people talking about, the Jets with the line is a great pick. San Francisco's depleted. It's like, no, these teams are just bad. The Giants suck. Sterling Shepard is on IR right now. So who the hell is he throwing to? Darius Slayton and old man Golden Tate? I don't care who's back there covering them. They're not burning nobody. And then Devonta Freeman, like, people are excited that this 30-something running back who couldn't even find a team before the season started is now going to bring the Giants to the promised land in fantasy and in real life.
Like Saquon Barkley, one of the most athletic running backs, couldn't find room. So obviously Devonta Freeman and Dion Lewis are the answer.
Yeah, and I think they're like the worst team in the NFL as far as creating yards before contact as well. And even without Bosa and Solomon Thomas on that defensive line for the 49ers, they activated Ziggy Ansah and Dion Jordan, who are both good pass rushers here. Daniel Lewis will have a hell of a time passing again, just because San Francisco will still be able to put pressure on him. Yeah. And the Niners, it doesn't matter who's back there.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
I honestly no jokes. I think the difference between Jimmy G and Nick Mullins is minuscule at best, and I think there's a non-zero chance where Nick Mullins is actually the better player. It didn't look great once he stepped into the game, but it is amazing. Like when you know you're going to start versus being thrust into the game and not really being ready.
Except for Justin Herbert. He played really well.
Yeah, but he's the real deal. But of course, Anthony Lynn's going to sit him for Tyrod. But I think that's more of a PR thing because they collapse his lung and whatnot. But anyways, before we get out of here, Brian, before we hit our best bet, which is right now, make sure you join us Sunday mornings. Bring your betting questions. Bring your lineup questions. And let Brian and I help guide you to the promised land. But Brian, who is your best bet for week 3?
All right. This is the first time I'm going with a negative here, and it's got to be the Carolina Panthers under 17.5 total points. Their team total under 17.5. They're going up against a Chargers defense who just limited probably who many consider to be the best quarterback in the NFL. Arguably now with Russell Wilson playing as good as he is, he might be second. But they just limited the Chiefs to 23 points. They were creating all sorts of problems for that offense, not allowing them to get the ball down the field. It was a lot of short passing. Their defensive line is they're monsters out there creating pressure without blitzing. This Panthers team is without their best and most dynamic player in Christian McCaffrey. Mike Davis is, again, a career backup who people are
but people are spending 80% of their fab.
Yes, I just don't see them being able to punch the ball in. This is also a Chargers team who limited the Bengals to only 13 points, and albeit it was his first start, Joe Burrow looks the part as a legit NFL quarterback. Like
we might have we might, there's been years where we've had the Jay Cutler and Matt Leinart and Vince Young class, and we've had some really gross quarterback, the Christian Ponder, Jake Locker year. But we might have gotten lucky. Like Joe Burrow looks the part, Justin Herbert looks the part. We haven't seen Tua, but we might have. This is like kind of like the year we had Eli and Big Ben and
I think it was Phillip
Rivers. Yeah.
Yep.
So like there's a chance that we have 3 guys that are starting for a decade plus, potentially 1 or 2 of them winning a Super Bowl. Like that, we got some quarterbacks. This isn't the Josh Rosen experience, so we'll see how it pans out. But yeah, it's exciting to see the young class coming through.
But yeah, real quick before I leave that game with my best bet there. I also think the Chargers are just going to be able to run all over Carolina's defense. I don't think there's going to be any need to air it out like we saw them do against the Chiefs. They know that they're the better team. It's not like playing against an opponent who you are expecting them to put points on the board where you have to push the issue. Anthony Lynn is traditionalist. He likes to control the clock, no mistakes. And there's no better way to do that than to keep the ball in your running back's hands and keep that clock rolling. And I think we see that a lot. So, yeah, I'm taking Carolina under 17.5 team total as my best bet.
Yeah, I like that. Any thoughts on the line?
I'm taking the Chargers. Yeah.
Chargers, win by touchdown or more even. Okay.
Yeah.
My best bet is I'm going to do it again. I don't know why, but I'm going to get in front of the Rams, and I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills minus 2.5. I like them a lot this week. As I mentioned, the Rams are flying all the way back. Josh Allen's looked incredible. That offense has looked really good. There's a lot to like about this Bills team, and the Josh Allen experience is going to win 11 games, going to win the MVP, and line Kyle's pocket all season long. So give me the Bills. Give me Devin Singletary doing stuff while Zach Moss just sits on the sidelines because he's not good.
That's okay. He only has to play 5 snaps and score 3 touchdowns in goal line situations. It'll be fine.
Like I said, join us Sunday morning. We'll have all your questions. If you're enjoying, mash that thumbs up. Make sure you hit subscribe. It really does do a lot for us. For Brian Twining, I'm Kyle Robert, and we'll talk to you guys next time.